Dub Nation, let's dive in. Because the latest headlines aren't about draft picks or roster moves. They're about legacy, leadership, and accountability at the highest level. Here's what went down. Analyst Charles Barkley stirred the pot by blaming LeBron James and Kevin Durant for pushing the NBA to introduce the second apron rule. In Barkley's view, their super team formations, Miami in LeBron's case and Golden State in KD's, forced the league to clamp down on salary flexibility to protect competitive balance. Now, KD is done sitting back. He's pointing fingers, not at players, but at the team executives, specifically naming Bob Myers, the Warriors GM when he signed with Golden State. Durant called him the fall guy for a contract structure that allowed the Warriors to keep their championship core intact because he signed a team-friendly 2-year deal worth around $53 million, allowing GSW to retain key pieces like Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston. The takeaway? Durant is arguing that the real reason the league changed rules wasn't player power, it was front office strategy. GSW was one of the last dynasties built before the apron made those kinds of deals nearly impossible. Think about that. If the apron had been in place in 2016, signing Durant would have meant gutting the roster or paying insane tax dollars. Instead, Myers orchestrated a masterclass in roster flexibility. This turns Barkley's narrative upside down. It's not just about the spotlight on superstars, it's about who constructed the ensemble cast behind them. Now, I want to hear from you. Who's responsible for building super teams? Players chasing rings or front offices making it happen? Do you back KD's argument that executive strategy is the real game changer here? And what's your take on Bob Myers, genius architect or mastermind behind dynastic dominance? Drop your takes below, hit that like if you respect the front office genius, and subscribe for more hot takes like this. Let me know and I'll roll out Chapter 2, where we'll talk about how Draymond got called out by De'Aaron Fox and what that means for the Warriors' swagger heading into 2025-26. Warriors Nation. In the heat of the offseason, when most teams are strategizing in silence, the noise surrounding Golden State never really fades, especially when Draymond Green's name is involved. This week, a little fire was thrown from none other than all-star guard De'Aaron Fox. On a national sports show, Fox was asked who he thought was the biggest complainer in the NBA. Without hesitation, he said, Draymond. He'll clothesline you and then look at the ref like, what'd I do? It wasn't just a joke, it was a real statement from someone who's played against Draymond for years in the Pacific Division. Fox knows exactly what it's like to deal with Draymond's physical, emotional, and sometimes unpredictable game. He even brought up that infamous 2023 playoff series between the Kings and the Warriors. You remember, Green was at the center of controversy for a stomp on Domantas Sabonis, and later another questionable move involving Fox himself. So when De'Aaron speaks on this, is coming from experience, not hearsay. Now, let's be real. Warriors fans have always known Draymond isn't for everyone. He's intense, he plays hard, and yes, sometimes he toes the line. But here's the thing. That same fire, that same edge is exactly what makes him special. This isn't just about being a complainer. It's about passion, leadership, and identity. Draymond is the voice of the Warriors. He's the guy who speaks up when no one else will. But it's a double-edged sword. Too many technical fouls, too much jawing at refs, and suddenly the team's in a hole they didn't need to be in. Still, let's not forget what he brings. Elite defense, unmatched basketball IQ, and the kind of emotional spark that can turn a cold game into a comeback. Without Draymond, those championship banners hanging at Chase Center don't exist. And to his credit, Draymond has pushed back on all of this criticism. He's been vocal about how tired he is of the narrative that paints him as the angry villain. In interviews, he's made it clear he's not backing down from who he is. He owns it. And for a team like Golden State, which thrives on chemistry and confidence, that can be a good thing, as long as it stays under control. But it raises real questions for the upcoming season. Can Draymond walk that fine line between passion and distraction? Will the Warriors need him to evolve his leadership style as this team adds new pieces and a younger core? And how do his peers' opinions, like Fox's, affect the team's image and morale going into another title run? That's what we want to hear from you, Dub Nation. Do you think Draymond's intensity still fuels the Warriors in the right way, or has it become more of a liability? Are these kinds of criticisms just outside noise, or do they reflect something deeper the Warriors need to address? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if you believe Draymond's fire is still exactly what this team needs. And stay locked in, because in Chapter 3, we'll talk about how all these moving parts, Draymond, Kuminga, Payton, and more, are shaping the identity of the 2025-26 Golden State Warriors. Let's go, Warriors Nation. Your voice matters here. All right, Dub Nation, we've covered the rumors, the off-court sparks, and the heated critiques. Now let's bring it home. How does this team close the gap and get back to the mountaintop? At the center of it all, the core. We've got Steph Curry, year 17 under his belt and still making defenders look silly from 30 feet. We've got Jimmy Butler, whose grit and fire gave this team instant credibility the moment he inserted himself. And we have Draymond Green, our heartbeat, our energy source, and yes, our most outspoken voice in the room. That trio represents the blueprint of Golden State's DNA. But a championship isn't won on star power alone. It's won on smart additions, calculated minutes, and a mindset that says we've been here before and we know how to finish what we started. Here's what's exciting. If Kuminga returns with maturity and motivation, he adds a playmaker and defensive mismatch to the wing, a role that fits seamlessly with Curry's spacing and Butler's physicality. If the veterans like Horford or Melton come in, you get seasoned head count, passing, and defensive toughness. Add the depth guys, Moody, Podziemski, Jackson Davis, and suddenly you've got fuel ready to go while maintaining elite execution. But leaders define success or failure. Draymond's intensity, Jimmy's tenacity, Steph's vision, that's playoff culture. Now imagine that paired with the right bench brigade, some unlockable youth, and that financial latitude post-Kuminga. That's a team with a puncher's chance. Final call to you, Warriors Nation. Can this group, with its core intact and new pieces fitted right, silence the doubters once and for all? Who's the X factor in this final title chase? Experience, youth, or that unbreakable mentality the Warriors are built on? And in all honesty, do you still believe this core has one more elite run left in the tank? Drop it in the comments, hit like if your heart's still riding with Dynasty DNA, and don't forget to subscribe. If they put it together, 2025-26 could be epic. Warriors Nation, be loud. Let the world know we're not done yet.